we have to know where the line is. There always has to be a line, right? A line that is the place where we're crossing over that edge of things that we shouldn't say, things that we shouldn't do, right? Places that we shouldn't go. All of that aligns. There has to be a line. And it's very important for us to know where the line is. Yo, 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 what is going on, real lovers? It is your man, Jay Immanuel, back with a new video. Man, oh man, I got a good one in store for y'all today. Before we get into the video, I want to let you know what Right to Real Love is all about. If it's your first time here, this is a channel that is for women of faith who want to attract higher quality men and get better results than 90% of women on the dating scene. If that's you, then this channel is definitely one that you want to tap into. And I hope that you will subscribe if you find value in the content. And with that in mind, I'm on the road to 1K. And if you find this valuable or any other content that I put out valuable and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so we can make it to 1K. But with that out of the way, it is time to get into today's video, y'all. I was scrolling down my feed on IG and I saw this clip about a pastor who was catching some backlash because of some things that he said in a recent sermon. And I promise you, what he said is quite shocking to a lot of people. So without further ado, y'all, let's get right into it.
But scripture said that manna came from heaven and it was bread to them. We don't make it rain on booty cheeks.
Yeah, he said that, y'all. He said it, y'all, but let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. He said it, though. He said it.
Make it rain on booty cheeks. We don't make it rain on strippers. We only reverence one stripper, and that's the one that took off glory to put on humanity and then get butt naked on a cross to die for both you and me. The only stripper I'm in love with is Jesus.
Oh my goodness. Yo, we got to stop it right there. We got to stop it right there. Oh my goodness. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard it for yourself, man. I ain't gonna repeat what was just said. Y'all just heard it yourself. I promise you, when I saw this scrolling down my feed, I was shocked. I was like, yo, this pastor couldn't have just said what they saying he said. And y'all know me, I gotta check it out. I hit the play button and I just heard what y'all just heard. I just saw what y'all just saw. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was shocked at first. At first I was shocked, but then not really, right? I think it's 2023, man. We live in a day and age where there have been many jaw-dropping things that, you know, pastors, men and women of faith have said. I mean, we live in a time where analogies that are being used within the church building are very different from, you know, years, decades, centuries past. And I don't necessarily think that there's anything wrong with that. I think that there does. And let me be clear. What I'm saying that I don't think is anything wrong with is the evolution of the analogies and creating new and relevant analogies to our culture. I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying that what he said is okay. That's not what I was saying. I got to make sure y'all understand me clearly, right? But I also want to be clear. I believe this pastor's name is Tim Ross. I did a little background before doing this video, and I think that this was a sermon he was doing at the Transformation Church. I think he may have been a guest speaker. And what I noticed is that this is a video that was done on Transformation's channel almost 3 weeks ago. I just saw this IG post yesterday. So clearly you can say that somebody is kind of digging up something and trying to bring it to the forefront. But before we get into the analysis, the breakdown, my thoughts on this, I want to be clear. I am not here to cast stones or to pass judgment on this man, on this pastor, on Tim Ross, on Transformation Church. I'm not here to do any of that. The only thing that you're going to find me doing on this video is providing you with my response on this one incident, right? I will be completely honest. I don't have that much knowledge when it comes to Tim Ross, what he does. I am aware of the fact that he's on IG. I'm aware of the fact that he has a podcast and some other things. But other than that, like I really don't know enough about him to speak on his character, to say one thing negative or something good about him one way or the other. So I do want to be clear about that. But I do believe that I can speak on this situation, especially as a man of faith, and a lot of you in our audience being women of faith. Man, let's first and foremost just address the most prevalent. I I think that it is a little crass to refer to Jesus Christ, you know, as a stripper. Like, I get the point that he's making, what he's trying to convey, but I believe that that analogy is it's on the edge. It's right there on the edge of the cliff. But let me say this. It is so easy for us, and when I say us, I mean all of us, to slip up and say something out of pocket that we'll later regret. I know I've definitely done it, especially being a podcaster for over 10 years, being here on YouTube. Man, you slip up and you say stuff doing a live stream, doing a podcast, and for a pastor doing a sermon, for a speaker doing speaking engagements, you say stuff. Sometimes you get caught up in the moment. And I went and I pulled up this full video, right? And this is near the tail end of his sermon. Like, this isn't something embedded in the sermon. This is like they're going into, praise and worship at the end of the sermon. And like, I'm assuming he's feeling it, right? Like that's not out of the norm for people to feel it when they're in it. But does that mean that what he said is okay? I'm not here to cast stones one way or the other. I think that there are going to be some people who are okay with what he said, and there are going to be some people that's like, yo, they got a problem with what he said. And you ain't got to take my word for it. Give me a second. I'm going to show you some comments and let y'all know exactly what people are saying about this, right? So first and foremost, man, first comment, my man JD Cotter, what up, homie? He says, to liken his savior to a stripper is a gross misrepresentation of the gospel, right? And he also goes on to say fully human, but fully divine. Let's go through and take a look at these other ones. So we got another comment. Person says, first of all, Jesus is not a stripper. He was stripped. I think from a literal perspective, I think we all know that. I think that Pastor Tim Ross definitely knows that Jesus isn't a stripper. This is definitely an analogy. This is an example. Whether or not it's one that should have been used is up for the debate and depending on who you ask. Another comment says, it's a no for me, and Jesus deserves more honor than that. I couldn't reference my mother as a stripper in no positive way, much less Christ. He need to be led by the right spirit. So this is what I will say. This is a no for me as well. I think where if you were to ask me my opinion directly, am I okay with this? Do I think that this is something that a pastor should have said? Personally, no, but I'm giving you my personal opinion. I'm not here to say whether or not it's morally right or wrong. That's going to be for you to decide along your own personal faith journey. I personally think that it's a little crass. I think that it is a misrepresentation of Jesus Christ. I think that it is not really a description that should be made or a comparison of him that should be made properly, right? I just believe that outright, and I can say that and I'll stand on that. But as far as saying whether or not this, he said it. He said what he said, right? He said what he said, and that happens. All of us have been in a place at some point in time where we've said something, whether we regret it later or not. I don't know. Like, I don't know Tim Ross. Maybe he doesn't regret it at all. And let's go check out some comments, because not everybody is saying something negative, right? Those comments that I read were people who were not really rocking with what he mentioned. But you have people right here that says some of these comments are sad. If you don't read the Bible enough to understand and comprehend words, we will always think what we said is wrong, or what he said. We will always think something we would say is wrong. And then I'm going to skip down to it. And he says, understanding context will help you understand how someone teaches. Once again, you may not like the method, but it doesn't mean it's wrong, right? So this is the thing. The morality of it is determined by the individual. And as you can see, there's some people that's like, yo, morally, that's wrong. You got other people that saying morally, it's not. I do agree with what this gentleman said with regards to the fact that context is important. I think that being able to see his whole sermon is definitely important, because maybe there is something more that a person could get from this than just the line that he mentioned about, relating Jesus Christ to a stripper, right? But then in addition to that, we got another comment. I know Jesus is tired of all of these pastors. Then we got one says, if you listen to this whole message, you'll get the point. He didn't plan to use this analogy. He just said it and went with it, right? That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you get caught up in the moment and things come out of your mouth. That doesn't mean that that's okay. I think that we should always be mindful of the things that we're saying, but context is important. And I would have to agree with this person. I don't know him, right? Let me be clear. I don't know him, but I don't think that he intentionally set out to be offensive. I don't even think in that moment he thought he was being offensive. You could tell from the people that were in the audience, they were clapping, they were applauding, like nobody felt any type of way, right? So I don't think that his intentions were misaligned. Could he may have used a better analogy? I personally think so. But once again, when you're caught up in the moment, things come out of your mouth that you probably wouldn't have said otherwise. Or maybe he would, right? I don't know Tim Ross. Maybe this is something that, he doesn't have a problem saying and he's not going to backtrack from it. And if that's the case, all the more power to you. The other thing that I think is important is that you do have to recognize, especially as an influencer, a pastor, a speaker, that the things that you say at some point or another, if you're not mindful, if you're not careful, will offend people. And that goes to any person, right? If you're not mindful of the things that you're saying, you may hurt somebody. That doesn't mean, not hurt somebody, but offend somebody. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to filter every single thing that you say. That's not what I think is a good way of doing it either. I look at things from a very balanced perspective. I don't think that you should just be, saying whatever you want, whenever you want, to whoever you want, however you want. I don't rock with that. And I also don't think that you got to be super restrictive and super mindful of everything that you say. And you got to think twice and then run it back and run it through a filter and go check with your accountability partner and check with your mentor before you say stuff. No, I think that there has to be a little bit of balance. And with that balance, there's sometimes going to be instances that occur like this, where something is said, it's either taken out of context by people that were not present in that moment, or it is something that was just on the edge statement. And now, it can kind of snowball out of control. And then, you kind of got to deal with it. But that is my perspective. I think that we always have to be mindful of our speech. I want to know what you think. Are you offended by what he said? Do you think this is wrong? Do you think it is right? What's your take? I want to know. And the last thing that I want to convey is the fact that, to anybody listening, whether it's Pastor Tim Ross or, anybody who is associated with him, or any other pastors or speakers or influencers, anybody like that, we have to know where the line is. There always has to be a line, right? A line that is the place where we're crossing over that edge of things that we shouldn't say, things that we shouldn't do, right? Places that we shouldn't go. All of that aligns. There has to be a line. And it's very important for us to know where the line is. And more importantly, when we are in a position to speak to a large audience, especially if it's in a public forum, we need to be very aware, right, of that line. And I think that is something that we have to consciously remind ourselves of before we hop on that stage, before we press that record button, or before we go in front of other people and share our thoughts, our opinions, or even give a message. But that's everything that I had to say. Man, I appreciate you guys for watching. I know this one went a little bit longer than normal, but there were some things that I wanted to just touch on in this video, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Definitely let me know your thoughts. This is a community for women of faith. If you want to be a 10% woman, a woman who is attracting higher quality men and getting better results than 90% of women on the dating scene, subscribe to this channel for more great content. And don't forget, if you are a single woman, to go get a copy of the prayer book, Manifest Him, Powerful Prayers for Your Future Husband. There will be a link in the description. And maybe I'll do this. You can get Manifest Him, or I got something else. There's a free 7-day prayer book if you want to try it out and kind of see what the prayers are like before you purchase Manifest Him. I'll have that link in the description as well for you to go ahead and get a copy of that and be able to join our real love community. But that's all I got in this one. I can't wait to catch you guys in the next one. Definitely get in the comment section and let me know what your thoughts are. Until next time, stay blessed, live, and love life. Thank God for another podcast and video. Deuces.